That's new video from a Trump rally tonight in Miami, where we are hearing pro-immigration, anti-Trump activists are being thrown out of the event. All of this comes on the heels of two new polls out of Iowa, shaking up the status quo in the Hawkeye state. Businessman Donald Trump no longer the frontrunner, with Dr. Ben Carson as the new #1. Today, the former neurosurgeon surges past Trump by 9 points in a Des Moines Register survey, up 10 points over the same poll back in August. This on top of separate polling out yesterday that also has Carson ahead of Trump. Some political analysts believe the Trump slump, as they've termed it in Iowa, is directly related to ads like this one being shown and paid for by the Club for Growth.
The Supreme Court's Kelo decision gave government massive new power to take private property and give it to corporations. Conservatives have fought this disaster. What's Donald Trump say about the decision?
I happen to agree with it 100%.
Trump supports eminent domain abuse because he can make millions while we lose our...
Joining me now, David McIntosh, president of the Club for Growth, and Katrina Pearson, Trump supporter and former Texas congressional candidate. Thank you both for being here. So, David, you think your ads have made the difference?
I do. I think what they did was tell voters in Iowa the truth about Trump being a liberal, particularly on this issue of eminent domain abuse, where he's 100% behind the government taking people's property and giving it over to developers like himself to turn it into casinos or parking lots for their limousines.
What about that, Katrina? Eminent domain has been long disdained by conservatives, but Trump says he thinks it's a wonderful thing.
Well, God forbid we create jobs in this country, but I would like to point out with regard to Mr. McIntosh's ad, leadership is important. And the previous leadership ran Club for Growth as a reputable entity. However, now things have changed because it seems like Mr. McIntosh is using Club for Growth donor money to go after Mr. Trump as a personal vendetta. The reason I say that, Megyn, is because he also supports Mr. McIntosh, the Keystone Pipeline. He has endorsed several candidates that support the Keystone Pipeline. The Keystone Pipeline is a foreign corporation who uses eminent domain in this country and, in fact, has 56 cases right now. There is a 78-year-old grandmother who was arrested on her own property right here in Texas.
But that doesn't answer the question. David and the Club for Growth are not running for president, right? So Donald Trump is.
Right, but he's being a hypocrite. He's being a hypocrite.
Okay, but what about Trump's support for eminent domain? That's what's resonating with the Iowa voters.
He is a businessman. He's saying an eminent domain abuse. The one case he always cites to was a woman who didn't want to give up her property, and guess what, Megyn? She kept her property.
But Trump told Brett Baer he thinks eminent domain is wonderful.
He says he likes it 100%.
And it is used. It is used to create jobs for public use or for a common carrier. And David, you're being
what of that,
dishonest
David? Because that is the defense.
Does the exact opposite.
That is the defense, that it can be used to advance business and create jobs for a bunch of people. And even if Iowans may not like it, perhaps that message will do better in states like New Hampshire and elsewhere where Trump will go after Iowa.
I think the voters, when they see that's just part of his liberal record. He's for massive tax increases in the past. He likes federal government health care. He hates free trade and the ability to bring in lower priced products for people. He would be a disaster for America's economy. And we're just telling the truth to voters.
But what we saw in the David, what we saw in the poll yesterday, what we saw in the poll yesterday, the Quinnipiac poll, shows that Carson tops Trump by 20 points when it comes to women, and he tops him when it comes to evangelical white voters. However, they still, by a landslide in Iowa, according to that Quinnipiac poll, favor Trump over anybody else when it comes to the economy.
You know, it's interesting. When we looked at head-to-heads, other people like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio beat Trump when it gets down to a narrow race. I think the voters want a real, genuine free market conservative. Those are two that we've said would be great champions of pro-growth economy. I think Trump's a distraction. He's the kind of the worst type of politician who says whatever he thinks the voters want and tries to get you to ignore the fact his record would show he's a real liberal.
All right. Thank you both for being here with your perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you.